Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely revolutionary concept drawn from Dr. Joseph Caccitolo's groundbreaking work on choice architecture. We're going to look at the hidden forces that absolutely derail your team's decisions. But right from the jump, I want to set our premise. We are here to fix broken operational environments, instead of just pointing fingers and blaming employees. Because think about it, if you have really smart people repeatedly making the exact same mistakes, you don't have a people problem. You have a system problem. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture yourself driving down a highway late at night. You're tired, and you start to drift out of your lane, heading right toward the ditch. Now, would a highway rumble strip actually keep you safe if it buzzed, say, a week later? No way. Of course not. By then, the crash has already happened. Yet, we have to recognize the absurdity here, because this is exactly how we run our businesses. We rely so heavily on delayed corporate feedback, things like quarterly KPIs, monthly breach reports, or those annual performance reviews, to correct behavior. It is just way too late. So that brings us to a pretty stark comparison. Traditional feedback is delayed, it's backward-looking, and honestly, it's mostly just informational. It's essentially just a report on what went wrong yesterday. Choice architecture feedback, on the other hand, is completely different. It happens in real time, right in the actual moment of the decision, and it alters the action before the mistake is ever finalized. Just think about the visceral, immediate reaction you have to choice architecture versus the absolute uselessness of finding out you failed a week after the fact. To really grasp this, we need to define feedback through a behavioral science lens. Feedback is a signal that works in the moment to wake up System 2. Dr. Caccitolo uses a brilliant metaphor here. He says it's like the annoying but highly effective seatbelt chime in your car. That chime doesn't wait until you arrive at your destination to hand you a printed safety report. No, it dings relentlessly the second you put the car in drive, forcing you to correct the mistake right then and there. Section 1. Waking up System 2. Let's look at the behavioral science that explains why this immediate jolt is so absolutely crucial. In behavioral economics, we talk about the brain operating in two distinct modes. System 1 is your fast, intuitive, emotional autopilot. It handles all those routine tasks smoothly. System 2, though, is your deliberate, slow, and highly analytical brain. In a busy work environment, your employees are running on System 1 just to survive the sheer volume of tasks. They're on autopilot. The rumble strip works beautifully because it jolts that fast System 1 brain out of its trance and literally forces the slow, analytical System 2 brain to suddenly take the wheel and pay attention to the hazard. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is temporal discounting. As the old rule goes, when consequences occur later in time, people mentally discount their importance. The science of immediate reinforcement shows us that humans are incredibly bad at connecting an action today with a consequence next week. If a warning is delivered a day later, the brain practically ignores it. The correction absolutely must happen while the decision is still actively being made. Section 2. The blueprint. So, the crucial point is, how do we actually build these systems? Let's look at the core traits. Here are the 4 non-negotiable traits your feedback system absolutely must have. First, it must be real-time. Second, it has to be tied to the exact action the user is taking right now, not some abstract general concept. Third, it needs to be goal-oriented, meaning it's linked to something the user already cares about, like their reputation or their success. And fourth, actually, scratch that, this one is my favorite. It must be unpleasant. Being slightly annoying is a feature, not a bug. If it doesn't cause a little bit of friction, it simply won't interrupt the autopilot. Section 3. Case study on response times. To prove how this framework operates in the real world, let's step into a high-stakes IT service desk. Okay, here's a situation. A managed IT services provider was processing over 1,000 incident tickets every single day, but they had a massive problem. High-priority tickets were constantly missing their critical service level agreements, which, as you can imagine, resulted in some pretty angry clients. The root cause? Every single ticket in their software looked exactly the same. Same white row, same black text. A ticket with 10 minutes left looked identical to a ticket with 2 hours left. It was a complete fluency trap. The analyst System 1 failed to recognize the urgency because the interface provided data, sure, but absolutely zero attention or alarm. Waiting for a breach report the next morning definitely wasn't going to save them. The system needed a visual alarm. They literally had to turn the tool into a screaming rumble strip to signal the pilots to pull up before they crashed the plane. So the development team mapped out this brilliant stoplight color coding system that escalated visual tension as the tickets aged. If a ticket had more than 45 minutes remaining, calm green. At 15 to 44 minutes, it shifted to a cautious yellow. At 5 to 14 minutes, it became an angry red. And if a ticket had less than 5 minutes left, the entire row flashed bright red like a police light right on the massive monitors in the room. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when you fix the environment. A flawless 100%. After just 2 months of this real-time feedback, the service desk hit a 100% on-time first-touch success rate. That is something they had literally never achieved in the entire history of the company. But you know what's really amazing? It's how this instant feedback completely removed the feeling of defeat and actually created a self-regulating collaborative team culture. The analysts created a "no reds today" mantra all on their own. They naturally flexed their effort during peak times just to avoid those flashing lights. Analysts went home feeling proud of a green board instead of defeated by impossible expectations. And the ultimate business result? Customer satisfaction jumped a massive 12% in a single quarter, all from just changing the colors on a screen.
Section 4, Homework Assignment. Let's move to your actual process and see how this builds into an actionable step for you.
Dr. Caccitolo has a very specific challenge for you. He says, open one process where someone routinely makes an expensive mistake. Add one real-time feedback warning. Measure the drop-in errors in 7 days. Seriously, go into your own broken processes and install your own reflectors, buzzers, and rumble strips. Add a red background, a grayed-out save button, maybe a pop-up confirmation. Interrupt the mistake while it's actually happening. You can easily reach out to Dr. Joseph Caccitolo at joe@caccitolo.com or find him on LinkedIn if you want to learn more about turning behavioral science into bottom-line efficiency. I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. The next time an error happens in your organization, are you going to waste time asking who made the mistake, or will you finally start asking, why did our system make that mistake so easy to make? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go build some rumble strips.